Okay, now that the loud music has started, it's just about the right time to start. So we're going to try and compete with a disco here. Okay, so my name's Andris Berzins. I represent TechHub. I didn't make a long introduction earlier, just a brief introduction. So TechHub is a startup co-working space and community organization. We're a non-profit, a foundation, started by entrepreneurs here in Latvia. We operate a co-working space in Riga. We have about 30 startups right now. We're opening a new space, larger, double the size. It's going to be officially launched in November. We'll be actually moving in there probably in October. And we run a lot of events. An annual conference called Tech Chill happens in every February. And we also run various startup training workshop events. The next one is the Digital Media Startup Academy, happening in a few weeks' time, the end of August. So check our blog to find out some more information. It's for digital media startups, a whole weekend of workshops, training, mentoring, and so forth. So in terms of running this panel, what we wanted to do was talk a little bit about the Israel and Latvia startup ecosystems, and especially about what can be learned from Israel, which has been around in the startup ecosystem development for a lot longer than Latvia. So we're a relative baby. So we have a number of people who can help shed some light on this topic. So Eldars from Faster Books will be here in terms of sharing his experience and thoughts from having been in Israel. Moshe, who you heard earlier, will obviously be able to talk from the Israeli perspective, being in that ecosystem. We have Klavs Vasks, who heads up Latvian Guarranee Agency in Latvia, and who was, together with Edmunds Valantis from the Ministry of Economics, both of them on a trip to Israel, I think 6 months ago or so, on a fact-finding trip to learn more about what Latvia can do. So I think I want to kick off, and I'm actually going to start from the other end with Edmunds first, and maybe ask if you can point out maybe one or two things, key things that you think are applicable from where Israel has got to and things that Israel has done well that might actually be things in Latvia that we could think about adopting or changing that would help develop startups here in Latvia.
Thank you. Yes, it was a great pleasure to visit Israel and to see their experience in promoting entrepreneurship and promoting entrepreneurship, and of course Israel could be one of the best benchmarks for any country to see how to promote entrepreneurship, especially startups. And from our visit, we had several goals to see how technology transfer system is organized in Israel, as well as how access to finance for startups and venture capital is provided for growing and startups. And and of course these are the areas we look very closely. We are now in a situation we are developing new state aid programs, both for technology transfer as well as for support for startups, and of course we will take the best practices from Israel also into account in our programs. And these now we reconsider, and this is also very important for startups, technology transfer, how to promote better cooperation between industry and startups and education system, research centers. This is very important.
Edmund, tuvāk.
Tuvāk. Sorry. Yeah, and technology transfer is really very important for startups, especially what we are looking to achieve, that startups in the area of innovation, which really provide long-term competitiveness, and there is a lot of things to be improved. Now we will develop a completely different technology transfer support system. Second area is access to finance. We are in a process with Latvian Guarranee Agency to develop new support schemes, especially for startups. we believe that our intervention should be especially more in areas for startups, for innovative startups, because this is an area where access to finance is most crucial, and we are trying to implement and develop accelerator schemes which allows fast-growing companies get readiness and readiness for next stage investments, and as well we take into account also we'll take into account also Israeli experience in business incubators, especially in quality control, and we'll adopt also the similar system in creating steering committees which are composed not from representatives of ministries but from industry, just to see that business incubators provide very targeted and very qualitative services to new startups.
Okay. Klavs, 2 things that you really brought home from Israel that you think would have value here?
I just can comment what things with what purpose I went to the Israel, and one thing I came back. So our main purpose of the visit was to learn and to see how the Israeli government is supporting the startups. I mean, how the government money smartly is spent to support the startups. And basically, my main finding and conclusion was that before we start to think how we should spend this money here, we need to adapt and try to get Israeli spirit here out in our startup environment, and basically start to work with this all startup community environment, and basically facilitate more startups, more good ideas, and then probably the money will find a way how to support them, because now we are in a situation we have I would say quite a lot of money available and through different programs in different funds, but probably maybe this money was not targeted enough for early stage companies where we see the most critical phase of and deficit of development. And basically, as Moshe mentioned, the number of new startups yearly which are built in Israel, I think we would be very happy if we could get at least a small part of such development here. And now basically we are working on 2 things. The first one, we are just basically trying to develop and support the ecosystem, including TechHub and different other sort of startup communities. We are thinking about startup platform where we could sort of join most of the news regarding the startups, business and startup finance and news and so on. And the second thing is what Edmunds also mentioned, to work on the next planning, to work on the new type of the funding funds and accelerator programs, sort of to support and finance these nice ideas. So basically, I would say that ecosystem. We should start with the ecosystem. Spend much smaller money, but with much more bigger leverage to the later stages of funding. So, and I think that Israel has developed this naturally through the way how the people in that country has survived and fight for different things. So I think that's a good challenge here. Thank you.
Okay, and Moshe, interested in? Yeah, go on.
Well. coming back to what I took from Israel, I understood that one way is to learn how other countries doing startup support, which we greatly sort of appreciated and understood. But I understood that we need to take the spirit of entrepreneurs about the startups, about community, about how the people in startup community are communicating. I understood that this is a main issue or main value we need to create here.
So you mean we're not ready for the Israeli model yet?
I think we are since our visit. I think that looking on a Latvian ecosystem in a startup community, I think we are doing quite a good progress with your support, and I hope with support of the ministries we'll be able to do this going forward. Well, definitely.
Yeah, we definitely need hummus.
I think we should send some to Ministry of Economy and Ministry of Finance, definitely, because make them run faster and of course think faster. That's what really help. Yeah.
So Moshe, obviously you spent a lot more time in Israel than in Latvia, but in general, sort of the things that you see that Israel does well that you think actually are lessons that other startup ecosystems could learn from?
Okay, first I think you need to separate between governmental help and financing and to the startup ecosystem on ground. Okay, you saw the numbers, you saw that there are 6,000 active startup companies and 2,000 new ones joining the market every year. Okay. You have to understand that this, even though the government finance, I would say around 10% of this ecosystem, most of the deal flow that I personally see, and I can speak only for myself, coming from ecosystem exactly like you have here, like TechHub. And such places, basically, you can do big change with small money. So I definitely see you going the right way. And if you have only a few hundred startups going through such facility, you just need to multiply it more. You don't need a lot of money in order to open Tech Hub in other regions and maybe to multiply it. And the minute that you create such ecosystems, you see that you basically encourage startups to join, encourage people to sit down. And when they come and sit down, they're bringing ideas and they're not afraid to start doing things by themselves. And you have one example here, and I'm sure you can, in the moment that your friends see what you do, they now also start thinking about their own startup and their own ideas, and I'm not sure that they have the right place to go to. In the moment that they have place to go, things gonna start moving. And in Israel, in Tel Aviv, only in few blocks around my office, you can see accelerators and incubators and hubs, and they have all sorts of creative names, but you can see them everywhere. And basically, I think this is the main difference, and this is where you need to go, and it's pretty easy to do it. And if you decide that by the end of the year, you're gonna have 5 more places like that, you're gonna have these places, and believe me, the startup's gonna come and fill these places by themselves.
Yeah, so I think what you meant, what Klavs was referring to was when it's cool to tell your mother you're in a startup, and she won't be, oh my God, what are you doing? You're crazy. Then we'll be in better shape.
My mom didn't want me to go to the startup side. She really liked when I was investment banker. And in the moment I told her that I'm flying to Belize to do my own startup, she didn't like it at all. But she realized, after she heard about stories of my friends, she said, okay, go. So it's only a matter of time.
Exactly. So Eldars, any thoughts from you in terms of having been there and sort of the flavor that you got from Israel? Anything that we should bring back?
Yeah, so I will give a couple of examples. When we first came to Tel Aviv, and before the main DLD conference, there was a VIP opening event hosted by the mayor of Tel Aviv. So the mayor was there to greet all the participants, to greet all the startups, technology people, so he was involved. The next day, there was an event hosted, or event where Prime Minister came as a speaker to speak to the startups. And the third day, there was an event where President came to speak to all the startups. So what's my point here? From the very top of politicians of the government, there's a support, dedication, respect to startup, because there are results. Startups bring a lot of, big part of GDP of Israel are startups. And there are startups which are several billion in a value. So our usual answer to why don't we do this is because our startups are very small and nobody cares. But if we look to Estonia, Estonian president, Estonian prime minister already do this. And Estonian startups are smaller than Israeli ones. So a journey to Tel Aviv, to Israel, was like journey to the future, which we will have in 10 years from now. If we assume that we know what the future will be, let's just do the things right now. And of course, I want to thank LGA and Imprimatur, who have done a lot of effort in this 1 year since Start Tel Aviv. The financial side of the startup development was solved so much just in 1 year, 12 months, and most of the financial problems of early stage startups were solved. What comes up next is persuade programmers, developers to join your startup, and to persuade them that they should not be ashamed of joining startups, because it's not worse than a corporation. So to raise this status of the startup a bit higher, we need involvement of several high-level people, probably, as an example, as what Israeli do right now. And promotion doesn't cost a lot of money, easy to do. Just, I think Andris is closer to that point with economics ministry.
Well, we get some support, but there could always be more. So Edmunds and Klavs, we know what jobs you have, right? So I'd like to actually turn the discussion a little bit towards not just Israel, but one of the key connections that the Israeli startup ecosystem has globally, which works extremely well, which is Israel to the US, and more specifically Israel to Silicon Valley. And maybe Moshe, to start with you, obviously everyone in the tech industry knows that the mecca for tech is the Valley. What are the things that Israelis, either as startups or the government, have done well to promote the links to the Valley, and why this works so well? And for context, I worked in an Israeli-US startup, where the R&D was in Israel, the head office was in the US, and this is a very common setup. Why does this work? How does this work, and what can we learn from that?
Well, I believe it's a chicken and egg question here, because when you go to the Valley now, you see that there are Israelis spread all over, inside from the VC, from the development. So I believe that nowadays the communication is pretty straightforward, because we already set up our connections. I think the main obstacle is to set the right connections between a country and the Valley. And at the moment you do that, you're fine to go. But now let's try to think how we break into the Valley and how we do it. So that's, I think, what you just said about involvement of government officials. And I personally, for example, with our VC, when we needed a support and a connection to a certain corporation in the US, one of the Prime Minister personal assistant actually helped me personally to go there. Okay, few phone calls. That's Israel culture. You can get everywhere, but basically the support of the Prime Minister, as he said, helped me to get forward with certain deals. So it's a combination, and when you start doing that, and when you already put your leg there, people start knowing you, and you need to be aggressive, and you go around. So I believe it's a combination of these two.
So we need to be as aggressive as the Israelis.
That's for sure. For startups, you need to be aggressive no matter what. Yep. Otherwise, you're not going to do well. And if you're not be aggressive and you're not going to push to get paid from your startup, I guess you're not gonna do well. So.
But you're basically saying that the sort of the diaspora of Israelis who are living and working in the U.S. and in the Valley is one of the key things that helps new startups and people who are not there make those connections and make business work.
Correct. To tell you the truth, I don't know what's the spread of Latvians in the U.S.
It's a lot less than Israelis.
Okay, so here you go. But try to find, maybe there are other places where you can start with them.
And there are some, and they're growing.
Okay, so there are, for example, I can tell you about an Israeli VC that called Upwest Lab, which a Israeli VC, owned and financed by Israelis, which is basically, they decided one day, it was not long time ago, a year ago, they decided that they're moving to the Valley, and they bring Israeli startups to the Valley for certain rounds. Okay, so for example, let's say TechHub decides that you want to go to Valley, just set up an office there, you bring certain round of startup for 3-4 months, and you start getting them meet some of the other local companies, and that's how it started. It started a year ago, and already more than 100 startups passed through these channels of Upwest Labs, and I think around 10 to 50% of these companies managed to get money in first round and second rounds from Americans. But this is an example of Israeli aggressiveness. A VC, Israeli VC, decided that he wanted to be in the Valley, took his packages and moved to the Valley, and that's it.
Yep. So, Klavs or Edmunds, any thoughts on relations with the Valley and how we can copy some of that Israeli success?
I just had a great idea listening to Moshe that we could invite Andris to become ambassador of Latvian startups in Silicon Valley, because I basically believe that since you established some footprint in that place, so you just need some people to go hang around and try to choose. Yeah, I think that's good.
We can discuss this deal later.
Yeah. No, but
the ambassador always gets to ask a question. Please.
I hope I didn't miss the information, but this is for Edmunds from the Ministry of Economics. Maybe you can tell us, I'm very practical, you know me already, how much money the government of Latvia give for pre-seed startups? How much money? How millions of euros?
No.
Also for Klavs. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, this is very good question. Well, actually, our intervention in pre-seed area was introduced by selecting in premature, and we have been more aggressive or allowing more risk taking on part of in premature, and now we have allocated additional 2 million euros, and for example, for next planning period, the funding for venture capital is estimated at 45 million euros, and mostly we would like to focus on early stage investments and also for pre-seeds. Additionally to that, we also have two other programs for startups. One is for business incubators, and for this would not be, unfortunately, the Israeli way of business incubators, but still will refocus this support, and we would be much more result oriented. We would require much more preparedness from startups to enter the business incubator program, and additionally we would provide assistance for pre-incubation just to prepare business plans. Additionally, for startups also there is a startup loan program but it's more for lifestyle businesses. It's not for fast growing companies. So we would have a rather large amount of funding for startups for next planning period.
I will just add about precise numbers. What Ambassador was asking. Actually, this week we get additional allocation of funding by which will cover pre-seed funding by end of 2015, and that's in areas what Edmunds mentioned, the additional 2 million to existing 2.5. So basically, this goes for a pre-seed program where 50,000 euros. In a kind of soft loan program are allocated, and also money through existing venture capital funds, especially for early stage, is still available in an amount about 25 million euro. So basically, the money is not so much issue. The good ideas is larger issue, at my opinion, than money at this stage.
Okay. Yeah, sure. If you hang on one second. So Eldars, just your thoughts as well. What connections to the valley? So I don't know if you've been to the valley yet.
Yeah,
you have, right? Yeah, you went with the startup sauna trip,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So you've been there. So from a startup's perspective, is there anything we could do differently to get those connections better? Anything we could learn from the Israelis that do it so well?
Yeah. So when we came to the valley the first time, we did not know where to go. So our first idea was to contact a person that we know from Valmiera incubator, Sanita, who is called Miss Latvia in the valley. And I've contacted her, and she told me to which co-workings and startup houses to go. So I agree to previous comments that it's all about people. If you know somebody there, they can connect you to more people. So if we could have possibly our own representation in the valley, a place where to go when you just come, when you are a newbie, it could really help. Yeah. So if you know someone, that's a start. Then you can be introduced to more people and more, and you can stay there for a longer time. So, totally agree. It could help.
Someone with a big apartment then.
Someone, yeah, because a lot of things happen in the startup houses when like 10 people or more are living in one place, hacking some stuff and going to events. It's like co-living.
All right. So I think we have some time for a few questions. There's one question already in line.
Yeah, hi. My name is Zvika Rubinchik, or Gregory Rubinchik, for those who know me locally. And I just visited your ministry this morning, changed my clothes and came here. I work for KPMG Energy and Utilities, mainly financial advisory, but also recently we were hired by the European Commission directly. And I absolutely agree with Mr. Valantis? Yeah? I'm sorry, I cannot see from here. And Mr. Vasks, the issue is not exactly money, Mrs. Ambassador. The money is available. The funding conditions, and I can do a whole lecture here, in Europe are better than in Israel right now, actually, for pre-seed, for seed. The money is cheaper. The problem is more on the quality and pipeline of ideas. And my question is, how the funding, the instruments that you described here, how do they help, or how are they being used or thought of being used inside universities, inside incubators, to support the creation of ideas and to teach people who are in the industry, in the startup industry, to value or evaluate the projects correctly? This is also a point I see which is missing. People simply do not know how to treat new ideas. Yes, they treat them as equity, as private equity. Okay.
Education part, actually, people from education ministry also visited Israel, and we hope, and Ministry of Economy will, is also in in discussion how to promote this at already in a school level, in secondary schools and so on, sort of to start to teach entrepreneurship at the very early stage and talk about the startups. But when it comes educating the market, educating entrepreneurs, investors, and sort of other parts of the ecosystem. So actually, within the last few months, we have signed cooperation agreements with the major non-profit organizations, which sort of cover business angels and VCs, and we are also planning the support for similar to the trade and chamber agencies, especially to deal with an education of investors itself and entrepreneurs, sort of to teach them what it is about having a partner, having a business model which is understandable to the people who are in this industry, how the valuations are done, and so on. So basically, we try to spend the money through the organizations which sort of involve or keep together different interest groups and actually assign KPIs to them, how much they should sort of public doing public events or conferences in order sort of to qualify or to get that support. So and basically we are just in a beginning, but I think that's a way how to do it, because I mean I don't believe it is a huge PR campaigns and different public activities. I think we just need to focus on where all these people are meeting and spend that money and give that knowledge to the experts and give that expertise in a place where these people are meeting.
Okay. Yep. Any other questions from the audience besides the ambassador?
Yes.
No?
No.
Yeah. Oh, you have some more.
I just would like to elaborate a little bit more on quality of pipeline, and what we see there is additional potential for additional qualitative projects is unused potential from our research centers and universities. And therefore, we will look forward really to improve efficiency of technology transfer, just to change the mindset also of universities, that there is a great potential for ideas what they develop, just to move forward and to commercialize it. And our task is to create environment where it happens more successfully as it is right now. Additionally, what we see is that, and what's also very widely used by Israel, is that it's very, very important to organize events like in Tel Aviv, that to invite ideas from abroad. So we have good connections with still post-Soviet Union area and from scientists, and already there are market players who utilize this knowledge to attract new ideas here, to develop them here in Latvia. So these are two additional ways how to encourage and to make more pipeline of new business ideas.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Vladis.
I have a question probably for VCs. What would be top 3 industries 2015 to look at if somebody has options to choose to which startup areas look at to develop solutions or startup apps or.
Okay, you know what? I'll start with a story that happened to my mom in the bank not long time ago. My mom doesn't really like finance. She doesn't really know what to do with her money. She always called me if she needs to buy this or that. So one day she went to the bank. It was the other day. She went to the bank and she stands in the line. I don't know why she's standing in the line for the investment officer. In Israeli banks, you have it in every branch. So she stands there, and there was an old lady in front of her, and the old lady approached to the counter, and she starts speaking with the lady, and the lady suddenly tells her, listen, there is an investment opportunity for you. Why don't you get the money and put it there, and you get that percentage, and she starts explaining her, and my mom stands there in the behind her and waiting another minute, and the lady goes and explains the old lady that she do that, and if she'll put her money for 10 years locked, she's gonna get 5% return or 6%, and everything, all this scene continues, and then after a few minutes, the old lady stops, takes a deep breath, and tell the officer, in Hebrew they say meidale, I don't know how you translate it, it's like, young lady, in my age, I don't buy green bananas. I don't really know what's going to happen with me tomorrow morning. So for investment, I don't really invest in green bananas. I'm not going to know what's going to happen tomorrow. So nobody knows. If I knew, believe me, I won't sit here today. I'm going to be a multimillionaire, and I'm not. The trends changes all the time in the internet. Obviously, there are things and there are economies that stay strong for you can see healthcare stays strong and very stable, both from the fundraising side and from the return side. But I'm sorry, I don't really have a good answer for you.
But you're in B2C for a reason.
I'm a B2C for a reason because I told you before I have an ad network which control 1% of the worldwide traffic over the web. So basically, I use a special resource that I have in order to invest, okay? In my presentation, I explained that a traditional startup, if I was a traditional startup, I would not pick one of these, ecosystems because it's really hard. But believe me, to open a startup these days in Israel, it's pretty hard. You saw the numbers. But here you're only in the beginning of the cycle, and that's the beauty of it. You still have such a long road, such a long way to go. And if I was you, I was really excited because you can really see that the seeds that were in Israel during the 2000s, and now we are already throughout the end of this cycle, and here you're only in the beginning. So just the right push on the right directions with government help and with local organizations supporting it, going hand in hand, and the future is out there. You just need to grab it.
Great, that's what we think so too. Any other last questions before? Yeah, one more. Jā, mums te pasākums notiek angliski, tāpēc, ka te ir viesi, kur neprot latviski vai krieviski. Diemžēl. Tā, any other questions? No? Well, I'd like to close it up then. Thank you very much the panelists. Hang on. The ambassador has one final comment, I guess.
We have some prizes for all the participants. I mean, the experts here, and we have a small promotion here for men. Premier Dead Sea Company would like to give you, and each and every one of you will just come, just spread it. Thank you. With Andris there as well. And you also get from us just for you to be motivated to invest in the right direction, you know. So you have this Tel Aviv Beach promotion and also something nice to drink coffee or tea or water. Just thank you so much.
And actually, I want to thank the ambassador for her help and for her support and for doing this amazing event. This is definitely the Israeli spirit, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you.